All right, so I want to welcome everyone to our webinar here for 3 email marketing trends for small businesses in 2019. Thank you so much for joining me. For our schedule for today's webinar, we're going to be going through some content for about the first 45 minutes. I'm doing it a little bit differently today where we're going to go through some slides and content. And then at the end when we get to the Q&A, I'll be able to demo some of the tools that we talked about that you are having some questions on. So definitely be sure to send us your questions. I also have 4 or 5 people who are helping in the background that can help to answer questions as well. All right, so we've made it through the month of January. We've got just a few hours left of the month of January. And hopefully you're all at least starting to think about 2019 plans for your business. Now's really the perfect time for you to do some planning so that you can stand out in order to reach your goals. It's time to really think about your strategy for the year ahead, and that's going to help you to best focus your time and your energy. Now, email marketing is a tool that is not going anywhere. More and more people around the world are using it all of the time. And it's predicted that by 2020, email is going to be used by 3 billion people around the world. Now, the ROI for email marketing on average is one of the highest at about $38 for every dollar spent. That also means that a lot of businesses are in fact using email. But that's really why you have to be smart with your strategy so that you can catch your subscribers' attention in the inbox. Now, that's why we put together this whole webinar today so that you can be prepared, and we're not only going to share the trends, but we're going to talk about some strategies as well as some tools that you can use to accomplish the things that we're talking about today. And I'm going to be talking about a few tools that we already have, as well as some of the newer tools that you'll be able to use within Constant Contact. And that'll make your life a lot easier with your email marketing. Now, let's take a look at our agenda and a high level of the trends and the topics that we're going to cover today. I'm going to start out by talking about personalization and sending targeted emails, because this is something that consumers all around are expecting from all of your marketing efforts, not just email. So it's really important. Now, this is something that I've talked about a little in the past if you join me, but it's definitely not a trend that's going to be going away anytime soon. Now, for the second trend, this is where we're going to be focusing on how automation is becoming standard and how you can utilize some of the automation tools in order to really grow your business and engage with people. Now, the last trend that we're going to talk about today, this is how you're going to really provide value and get people to talk about you in order to grow your business. So I mentioned my name before at the very beginning, but before I dive into the details, I just want to put a face with a name. My name is Stephanie French, and I'm the Webinar Content Manager here at Constant Contact. I've been here for over 8 years, and I've been in different roles where I've had chances to interact directly with our customers. So I have a lot of experience in talking with nonprofits and a lot of varieties of small businesses. And I'm really excited to share my knowledge with you in order to help all of you who are joining us today be more successful. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's dive into the first trend for sending targeted emails. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually launch a poll that you should be seeing on your screen here in just a minute. All right, you should all see the poll. And before we get into this, I just want to see how many of you are familiar with this idea of sending targeted emails. So on your screen, you should be able to choose one of 4 answers there. Now, there's a chance that maybe you're not even sure what I'm talking about with targeted emails. That's okay. Or you might fall somewhere in the middle where you want to learn how to get started, or maybe you want to do better. And then, of course, I know we have people who've been in business for a while and may consider yourself an expert, and those are all really great. So go ahead and choose an answer for me. I'll give everyone just a few minutes to go ahead and provide the answer there. Got about 63% of attendees who voted. Hope it's going up, but we'll give it just a few more minutes here. All right. So just a few more seconds for everyone to provide their answer. All right, 81% of you have voted, so that's awesome. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this out so that we can take a look. So this is where everyone is following. So about 6% of you aren't sure quite what that means for sending targeted emails. That's okay. Probably, actually, the majority of you are following. I know what it is, but I'm not sure how to get started. Great. Well, this is a great webinar to get a basis to learn how to get started with that. We have 39% of you say, I'm already sending targeted emails and want to learn more. And then about 2% feel that you're a pro at sending targeted emails. So that is great. Thank you all for sharing that information. I really appreciate it. Now, targeted emails actually may be one of the most important things that we're talking about today. All because this trend for sending targeted emails, it actually plays into the others that we're going to be talking about today. It's a basis for being really effective and getting great results. Now, at a highest level, sending targeted emails means that you're sending relevant, timely information to people. Now, all of your subscribers are different if you think about it, right? They're at different stages in the buying process, or they simply have different needs, interests, or wants with your company. Not every message is going to be relevant to every subscriber. Now, if you happen to be someone who's sending the same information to all of the contacts in your list at the same time, you're likely going to see that your results diminish over time because people start to feel like your content is irrelevant. Now, stats actually show that 52% of consumers are likely to switch brands if communications aren't targeted or relevant to their needs or interests. That's why it's so important. Now, obviously, some of you may not have time to create a unique newsletter for everyone. And I'm actually going to be showing you a really cool new feature a little bit later. And that's going to show you how to update your content dynamically so that you can still create one email, but the content will display dynamically based on their interests. Now, once you do start sending relevant information, that's when you get their attention. They're more likely to pay attention to you and the information you're sending. Now, at a high level or a starting point, sending targeted emails means that you need to segment or group your like contacts together based on the information that you know about them and based on the information that's going to be most relevant to their needs. At a high level, you might look at their demographics, their location in relation to your business, or their behaviors. That might mean the actions that they take within your email, such as clicks or even their purchase history. Now let's go ahead and take a look at a few examples as well as a few tools that you might use in order to segment your list. Let's start with a B2B or a business-to-business example, and we'll just say that they're a marketing consultant. So they might segment their list based on prospects, for one, so that they can really show their credibility and their value in order to entice them to buy the product or service. Then they can also segment their list based on the people that they know are interested in their monthly hints and tips email. And they might also segment based off the types of services that people are interested in using. Now, there are really a ton of different ways and tools, even within Constant Contact, that you can use to segment the list. But let's go ahead and take a look at an example. Now, for this example, they could actually send an email featuring a couple of different services in order to see what people are interested in. In this particular example, they can send an email to all of their new leads, and it might look something like this. They're featuring their website service as well as their social media management service. Now, with the Click segmentation tool, they can enable it with both of the links in their email, and once people click, they're going to know exactly what services they're interested in. Now, how many of you out there, if you could raise your hand, are sending one email to your entire list with maybe a few different topics in your email? Go ahead and raise your hand if that's something that you're doing currently. If you're sending one email to all of your contacts at once. Give everyone a minute to raise their hand. And that's okay if you are, because there's really you can still learn about your contacts this way. If you need to collect interest on your contacts, this is a great way to do it with this Click segmentation tool. Now, if you have joined me in the past, you may actually be familiar with this tool already, but it's so valuable, and that's why I'm talking about it again, because you take a minute to set up this tool, and then when people click once it's sent out, they're automatically going to be added into a list that you've chosen, and that's really going to save you a lot of time. Now let's go ahead and take a look at another example, and we'll switch companies here for a B2C or business to consumer. Now this one's for a bakery, but it could really, these types of segments could really work no matter what type of B2C company you are, even a retail store or a boutique or a restaurant or something like that. So to start, the bakery might segment their list based on customers at each of their 2 locations. They could have a list for location 1 and a list for location 2. And this would allow them to send special promotions that are actually relevant to each location, as well as any special events that might be happening there. And then, of course, they've got people who want to receive their weekly specials email. And then, of course, a group for all of their commercial accounts. So they resell some of their baked goods, or they have some commercial accounts resell some of their baked goods. Having a separate contact list or segment for them is going to allow them to keep those people up to date on any discounts that might have that are particular to them, any product updates, or even anything to do with delivery that those people are going to need to know about. Again, there are a variety of tools that they might use in order to accomplish segmenting their list. Now, one example, they could go back to that click segmentation tool that we just looked at, and they'll be able to see who's interested in maybe receiving those weekly specials. But let's take a look at another way and another tool. So I mentioned a little bit ago that the bakery has the 2 different locations, and they also have people who want to receive weekly specials, and those specials are different for each location. So what they might do is use this segments tool, or a tool that's going to allow you to combine multiple criteria in order to create the segment. Different things that you know about your contacts, such as their contact activity with your emails, their list membership in your account, and then any contact details. So in this particular example, they can create a segment of people who are in their Massachusetts next to that location, and then also people who are interested in receiving the weekly specials. That way they can send those specials that are correct for each of the locations. Now let's go ahead and take a look at another example, and this one is actually for a nonprofit, and this one offers horse riding therapy. So at a high level, they're probably going to want to have different groups or segments of people who are new and current donors. And then also they could segment based off of the different giving levels. Now, if you think about it, people are able to donate at different levels, and they donate for different reasons. And those all can be really beneficial to follow up with them with a really relevant message afterwards saying thank you, or getting in touch with them in the future. Now, they're probably also going to want to have a segment for all of the writers in their program. That's going to allow them to keep people up to date on the schedule and any activities that are happening on a regular basis. And then, of course, something that's important for all nonprofits, of course, your list of volunteers. Now, let's take a look at a way that they can segment their list, or a tool or tools, I should say. Now, I'm going to focus on segmenting by donor data here, and they can actually use an integration with a variety of different donor management tools, and you're going to find tools like that within our marketplace. Now, let's just say they're using Donor Perfect here. Now, these tools that we're seeing here on the screen, as well as a variety of others, they allow you to segment those donors into segmented lists, and also just basically sync your contacts up with your Constant Contact email marketing. That way you're able to target the right people with the most relevant information. Now, there are a variety of tools, like I said, not just for nonprofits. You can actually find a variety of tools for profits as well. Now, if you're a retail business, maybe you've got a shopping cart on your website so people can easily purchase from you there. So you'll see some tools in there for Shopify, BigCommerce, and a ton of tools like that, again, helping you to sync contacts as well as segment your email list. So we've just gone through a few examples of segmenting your list and the tools that you can use to accomplish that. But maybe you're feeling a little bit like this now. Raise your hand if this is true for you. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, well, this is going to take a lot of time to segment out my list, or I don't have time to create multiple emails for different groups of people. My list is so huge. Raise your hand if you feel that way. Amber. All right, I'm seeing several hands going up. Jamie, I see that's you, and thank you for sharing. It takes a little bit to share that, but we all might be feeling that way because as a small business, we definitely feel like there's not enough time in the day, right? That's where this dynamic content that I alluded to a little bit earlier comes into play. Let's take a look at an example for a bicycle shop. They've only got time to create one email this month, but they still want their content to be as relevant as possible. They have information on a sale that needs to go out to all of their subscribers, and then they want to include information that's going to be relevant only to specific people after that. So what they can do is they could create an email that kind of starts out looking like this. They're all of the contacts in their list are going to see the information on the sale. Now here's what the end result would look like for people who are listed as being a customer with a kid. Because they're noted as having kids, the system is only going to show this event down here at the bottom, the Riding Safely event, to those people. Also, they have content that's going to be specific for those people who've recently made a purchase, and that's going to allow them to keep their bike in tip-top shape. Now, one other scenario here is, let's say a customer is listed as having kids and having a recent purchase. Now, in that case, they would actually see a longer version of this email that includes all three: the last chance sale, the Riding Safely event, as well as the new customer information for keeping the bike in good shape. And that's dynamic content, creating one email and having content displayed dynamically. Now here's just kind of an example of what it looks like in Constant Contact with the dynamic content tool. Now you will see this if you're in the Email Plus package, and it's a little lightning bolt icon that's going to be on the right if you hover over a block. Basically, you're going to be able to show these different or dynamic blocks of content to people based on fields or things that are listed in their profile. Think about any custom fields, like this has kids question, a city that they're in, and then a lot more. So it's just going to take a few minutes like this. You've just got to turn it on, a block name, and then answer the questions. And you can really create as many of those in an email as you need to in order for it to show to as many people as you need. Now, keep in mind, if someone happens to you have 5 different content blocks to different types of people. If they're listed as having all 5, they're going to see that longer email, which of course, more likely the things at the bottom aren't going to be seen if that happens to happen. So just a best practice and a little something to keep in the back of your mind if you happen to be using this. Yes, Paula, it is for Email Plus users. So that's the package that you'll be in, and that'll allow you to see the lightning bolt icon. All right, now I do want to give you all a heads up. We've just seen just a glimpse of the tools that we have, as well as a few ways that you can segment your list. Later in the year, we're actually going to be having a webinar that dives a lot deeper into this topic of segmentation and sending targeted emails. So I'm going to actually have Rachel share a link in the questions window now. She's helping me behind the scenes today. And this link is actually going to be to sign up to our monthly blog newsletter. It goes out twice a month. It'll let you know the hints and tips that are in the blog posts. And that's also where you're going to be notified when the registration goes live for that segmentation webinar, as well as any other webinars that we're running throughout the year. So definitely be sure to check that out if you're interested in all of our webinars and learning more through our blog. We have a lot of great information out there. All right, so at this point, I want to go ahead and we're ready to switch gears. Let's talk about the second trend, and that's how automation is going to play a role in your success. Hey, Thomas, I see your question in the cycle example. How would you obtain these segment metrics? Most often, I only have name and email. So that's something you would need to collect outside of Constant Contact in order to determine that information. If you have a CRM tool that you might be able to pull that information from, or maybe you could ask people to update their profile with you and create an update profile form. I'll have one of the people who's helping me behind the scenes share some information on that for an FAQ. But basically, there's an update profile link at the bottom of your email, and you could have them answer some specific questions so that they can kind of help you with that information if you need to collect it. A lot of different ways you could go about it, though. So we're talking about automation, and it's really becoming standard for small businesses. Now, I'm curious, are any of you out there already using some sort of automation for your business? If you are, go ahead and raise your hand. just really any type of email that gets sent automatically after maybe a contact signs up to your list or takes some sort of action. How many of you out there are already using automation? Give everyone a minute to find that button again. Tiffany? Robert, thank you. Nancy, Naomi, Nicole. All right, so just a few hands going up here and there. Well, automation is certainly something that's going to save you a lot of time and effort. Plus, when you take the steps to segment your list just like we just discussed, you're actually amping up the power of email marketing even more when you add on automation. And that's all because you can send more relevant information in a more timely manner. Just think of a scenario where if you're able to follow up with someone while they're still interested in your product or your service, you're more likely to keep their attention and possibly get the sale. Now let's take a look at a few stats on why automation is so important. B2C marketers or business to consumer marketers who use automation are actually seeing conversion rates as high as 50%. Plus, subscribers who receive welcome emails, they're actually showing about a 33% more long-term brand engagement. That's something that's super beneficial there. And then, of course, automation, one of the most common ways to use it is actually to nurture new contacts and leads. And that leads to about 47% larger purchases. So if it's not already part of your strategy, I'm going to definitely encourage you to get at least one or two of the automation tools set up. It does take a little bit of time and effort to get them set up initially, but once you're up and running, you really don't have to worry about it a whole lot because the emails are automatically going to send for you. Now, there are quite a few types of automation, but today we're only going to focus on 3 of them so that I don't overwhelm you with too much information. The first is actually birthday and anniversary emails, and these are a super easy way to delight your audience and stay top of mind with your readers. In turn, using these is going to help you to get higher opens, more clicks, and an even better return for your email marketing investment. It's going to help you to overall improve loyalty, retention with your customers, and generate some long-term business results. Now, for birthday emails, you could just send them a special message that lets them know that you care and that you're paying attention. But you can also include some sort of coupon or maybe a free item or a complimentary service. Think about something that might get them to come back and do business with you again. And then I want you to think about anniversary emails as well. Don't just think of it as a wedding anniversary because it can be so much more than that. It could be used to celebrate or acknowledge some sort of annual milestone with your business. That might mean a membership anniversary, some sort of renewal notice, or even a re-engagement letter. If some of you out there have seasonal type of business, every year on the same date, you could try an email like this that will re-engage them. Just something that will get them to come back, remember you, and do business with you again. Now, the second type of automation that we're going to focus on today is called the automated series. And of course, this is a series of emails that can be triggered after a contact is added into a list or maybe if they've taken an action in an email. Now, this has such a wide variety of flexibility for goals that you can reach with this type of automated series. You can reach existing subscribers, generate or engage new leads and contacts, really just about anything. You could encourage them to make a purchase or get involved with your organization in one way or another. So I've put together a few examples on some things, some emails that you can create with this. So the first one I'm going to show you is called an action series. This is really great if you want someone to, of course, make that purchase or get involved with your organization. Now, if you know people are interested in a specific product, service, or topic with your business, you could use this series of 3 emails and entice them to take action and get involved. So here's the first one. You could create an email that gives them the reasons why they should buy or why they should join your program. Then for email 2, this is where you could highlight a unique aspect and really show what differentiates your product or service from your competitors. What really makes you stand out? Put it in that email. Then for the third email, you want to try to get them to take action by invoking a fear of missing out. This is where you might really showcase how someone enjoys the use of your product or the success of your product, really why they don't want to miss out. So this email right here for the cycling club, it shows some really great images. I'm not an avid cycler by any means, but if I were, that would definitely entice me to want to get involved so that I don't miss out. John, you'll actually be receiving a link to the recording after today's session, so you'll get the audio as well as the video with the slides included in that. Let's go ahead and take a look at another example, and I call this one the onboarding series. After you make a sale, it could be really beneficial in order for you to provide a series of helpful information that really helps people to see success with the product or service or whatever they took action on. Now, email 1, this is where you can really thank them for their purchase and provide some getting started information. Think about the essential things that they need to know, because after a purchase, it's really important to keep people engaged in whatever they took action on, and that will keep them using the product or whatever it is. Then for email 2, this is where you might include some educational information that helps to ensure that they know where things are in your product and how to really be successful with it. Then for the third email, this is where you might ask for some feedback. This is where you could link to a page with all the details if you want to ask for a referral, link to your referral program and any details on that, or if you want to ask for a review, provide a link to the exact review site with your business listing so they can leave a review right there. Now, like I said, after a purchase or an interaction, it's a really great time to ask for feedback. And the great thing about this series is that you're setting them up for success before you ask for feedback or for that review. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the next idea for a series, and this one's called an anticipation series. Now, this is really great if you want to maybe launch a new product with your business, run an event, or even run some sort of training. And with this, you're going to be able to create some excitement for just about anything that might be happening at your business. So this particular example that we have uses 2 emails in the series. The first provides some preparation information for that event, and the second provides more educational information. For the second email, really think about the things that are going to help your attendees to see success at that event or with your product launch. So I've just showed you 3 examples of ways that you could use automated series, and they actually really pair well with that click segmentation tool. And then we've also created some great tools within our automation that'll make all of this super easy. Now, if you know someone is interested in that topic or product, triggering these types of emails to get sent automatically afterward saves you time and keeps them interested. All right, so let's go ahead and switch gears. I have a question for you, and I'd like for you to use the questions window. What do you think are some of the best ways to boost your open rate? There might be a few, but I'd like you to go ahead and just pick one, and in that questions window, provide me an answer. What do you think is maybe one of the best ways to boost your open rate? Give everyone a few minutes to provide an answer there. I see Jamie says the subject line as well as content, absolutely. Catchy subject line, an interesting title, a heading that intrigues them. Have great photos that attract viewers, relevant subject lines and catchy words, offering an incentive, emojis in the subject line. Seeing lots of answers for the subject line and a lot of other really great answers. Link to a video, that's great as well. Thomas, this is scrolling really quickly because everybody's providing an answer, but you kind of nailed this next one on the head. While there are a lot of things that you can do to actually boost your open rate, you can take one really simple action and enable resend to non-openers. It's a really simple automation tool, but it's a great way to boost your open rate really simply. Now, in Constant Contact, we've had this tool for several months now. I can't remember the exact time that it went into the product, but our users are seeing about a 30% increase over the original open rate. So That's pretty cool in and of itself. I'm going to encourage you to use this, but only use it with your most important emails because you want to think about how often you're sending as well as those automated emails. You can choose anywhere between 3 and 7 days for it to resend for you. And then you're also going to want to adjust the subject line. Now, by default, it's going to include a word before your original subject line, but I'm going to encourage you to think about that for a little bit. You might add in the word last chance, reminder, or don't forget, or even change the subject line altogether. Now, a lot of you just said a minute ago that the subject line is, of course, a really great way to catch their attention and get them to open. So maybe that subject line really wasn't catchy the first time in order to get them to open. So if you change it altogether, you could definitely try something completely new. Now, to go along with this, because you're getting so much value and you're able to boost your open rate, look over time for each email that you use it on. What subject line did you use? Think about the formula and whatever you used in order to catch their attention. That might mean that you want to replicate that formula for the subject line in some other emails in the future to really catch people's attention. All right, so we've just talked about 3 types of automation, and ultimately I'm going to suggest that you use all 3, the birthday and anniversary emails, the series, as well as this resend to non-openers in order to help you reach a variety of different goals. Now, later in the year, another webinar that we're planning is actually going to dive into the topic of automation a lot more. So if you're interested, go back to that link that Rachel put into the questions window a few minutes ago and sign up to that newsletter because that'll let you know when the registration goes live as well as all the details. All right, so let's go ahead and switch gears and go on to the next trend. The trend that's going to help you to provide value in order to grow your business and basically influence others in order to spread the word for you. Now, to get great results from your marketing, you really have to stop and think about the value that the content within your email provides. The truth is, people don't like to be sold to all of the time. So let's take a look at a few stats on why you want to increase loyalty and really get some repeat business through the value in your emails. That's because gaining a new customer can be anywhere between 5 to 25 times more existent than retaining one. Plus, if you think about it, buyers are reviewing 47% of buyers are reviewing about 3 to 5 pieces of content before they're engaging with a sales rep. There's where your email can play a role in that. And then, of course, 84% of consumers, they're likely to take action based on personal recommendations from a family member or a friend. Plus, when those people are referred, they're actually 4 times more likely to actually make a purchase. Now, earlier we talked about how email is really effective, and with the ability to target the right audience with some really valuable content, that's going to allow you to do just about anything. Drive leads, conversions, and really build relationships that lead to loyalty. Now, the more helpful your content is to your existing customers, the more likely they are to do business with you again and even share it with their friends. Think back to that automated series for the onboarding series. Basically, you want to get people talking about your business. The real value of your email content is that it gives your audience the opportunity to get to know, like, and trust you. And that's who people do business with, those they know, like, and trust. Now, creating valuable content can seem like a challenge to a lot of people that I've talked to. So let me go ahead and share a few ways and break it down on a few ideas for you. Now, of course, in addition to being relevant and speaking to their interests, it really needs to enable them to overcome a challenge or learn something new that they didn't know already. Think about any struggles that your audience might have and the benefits of your products or your services, kind of a roundabout way of how they can play a role without that sell mentality. You're really going to want to think about a problem and provide a solution and the steps that they're going to need in order to solve that problem with your content. And if you think about it, it's all about answering some of the most common questions from your audience. So let's talk about a few ways. I'm going to break this down into 2 kind of categories today. And the first is going to be by writing your own content. Now, this might seem intimidating if you're not a writer. I don't consider myself to be a great writer, but definitely learning over time. It really doesn't have to be intimidating for you because as a small business, you're interacting with your customers every single day. So you're going to know what they want and need from you. So I'd like for you to use the questions window, and I'd like for you to tell me what's the most common question you get from your customers or supporters all of the time. Think about that and let me know in the questions window. Give everyone a minute to write that in. Mark has a good point here. Thank you, Mark. He says, make the subscribers know it's not about selling all the time. Educational content works great from our experience, or Mark's experience, I should say. Click rates are between 40 to 50%. That's really good. And our open rates are good as well. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that insight, Mark. So Jamie's customers wants to know how to improve, how the service works, how much are your services, your open hours, how much do you charge, how to use the product, absolutely. How's the fishing? Is it going to be too expensive? Are there any activities this weekend? What events do you have coming up? Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing those. And those are probably a lot of common questions that everyone else is thinking about, right? Those FAQs or frequently asked questions that you're getting, they're going to make really great content, and it's a delighter if you're able to provide that content before they have that question. And that's kind of thinking back to that automation where you can really use that to your benefit. Take advantage of those questions and basically put them into an email and let people know how to get started, what the cost is, and all of that. Now, how many of you out there are using a blog for your business? If you are, go ahead and raise your hand. How many of you are blogging? And that's where you'll want to look for the little hand icon to raise your hand. All right, Hannah, Heather, Jim, Liz, Louise. Okay, so not too terribly many of you, but thank you for sharing. Using your blog content that you've already done work on is really great to put into your email as well, because you might have people who on your email list who don't know that your blog exists, or maybe they just don't have time to go out there all the time. So put that content into your email. Also, think about your website and any valuable content that you already have there. Save yourself a little time and repurpose some of it. Think about guides or those tutorial videos that you might have on your website and help your audience to solve those frequently asked questions or to solve some other problem. Also, I'm going to encourage you to think about the experts in your industry as well. You might create some content based on an interview that you have with them that'll really provide value to your audience as well. You might do the interview and you could share the transcript of that interview, or you could just kind of summarize it and put a few main learnings and advice into your email for your subscribers. Now, let's look at the other side of that. And Mark, you have a great point, something I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but he says, video blogs work sensationally for our plastic surgery clients. Absolutely. Don't forget that. Now, the other side of things is where you can really save yourself some time by curating or sharing other people's content. That means you might share some news and content. Make sure it's from a trusted source. Think about the things that are happening in your industry, like sharing some industry news, really great infographics, and even blog posts from other people in your industry. Also, go back and think about your influencers and the experts in your industry. This is where you might share some of their content and provide some insight into why you find their expertise so valuable. Now, this can be a great way to catch their attention, and hopefully if they see it, they're going to reciprocate a mention of your business in return, hopefully helping you to grow that way. Now, if you're going to do that, I'm going to encourage you to amp up the power with that by sharing your email on social media. And if you do this, create the post and make sure you put in their username or their Twitter handle within that post so that they get notified of that. Now, curating content for your emails, it doesn't have to be too time consuming. And what I usually do for this is set up a feed or a tool like Feedly. Feedly, and that's where you can search for relevant information based on some keywords, something that relates back to your products, services, or your industry. You can categorize that information using Feedly or a lot of other similar tools, and that way you can go back and reference it later on. Find your favorite articles so that when you're ready to create your next email, you can go back and pull from there. Now, a couple of best practices. This first one might seem a bit obvious, but make sure when you're curating and sharing others' content, make sure that you put in the author's information. Put in their name, and if you can, link back to the original source within your email. Also, make sure you don't just copy and paste. Make sure you're providing your own value and your own perspective about the article you're sharing, and let your readers know why they'll find that information so valuable. Kaylee Feedly, Feedly, you've got it correct. All right, so I just want to touch base on a couple of other best practices that you're going to want to keep in mind when you're creating value for your customers. First of all, make sure it's visually compelling. This is where you're going to include some sort of supporting image. Just about any email you create needs it, but especially your valuable content. Make sure it's not just a wall of text. Also, along with this, it could mean that your supporting image is a chart or some sort of infographic that provides compelling data about the topic. And also, when you can, use data and share some stats, and that's going to help you to prove a point in your valuable content. And like Mark said, make sure you're using video whenever possible. If you have a variety of Word emails as well as video within the body of your email, you're going to have really great engagement and provide variety that keeps people interested over time. Now, think about that product tutorial you might already have, or maybe you need to create a short one, or even just a short video where you're sharing your perspective or even a quick tip. And it doesn't have to be done in some expensive studio that you own or you go to. Think about using your smartphone or even your webcam. I've done that quite a few times. Plus, you might find a great video that you can curate. Reshare it from the experts in your industry in order to support your topic. You have a lot of options. Now, the last tip, it's no less important, but you've got to make it super easy for people to start spreading the word about you. And this is where you'll want to add a social media block into your email. Change it up to allow people to share that on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. And that'll make it super easy because most of your subscribers are probably already logged in. So it just takes a couple of clicks and then they can type in their own message to their friends and their followers. Now, when you provide this valuable content, you're going to be seen as a trusted source by all of your subscribers. They're going to be more likely to become a customer of yours and stay top of mind once they are. That's why it's so great. Plus, when you provide that valuable content, you're making them more happy, more successful. And of course, that leads back to them wanting to refer you and leave positive reviews for people to find online, all leading to how you can really grow your business. All right, so we've covered the 3 main trends for 2019. So let's go ahead and I want to start to wrap up so that we can get to that all-awaited Q&A session. So before we do, I do want to recap a few things. So if there's a few things that you remember after today, hopefully more than this, but that way you have a good start. First and foremost, make sure you're segmenting your list and grouping those contacts together based on their interests so that you can send them targeted, relevant information that keeps them interested and also gets them to take action, which is why email is so great in the first place. And then when you've done that work, tack on the use of automation tools. Send that relevant information automatically in a more timely manner to keep them interested. Also, don't forget about the importance of providing valuable content because that's what helps people to see success with your business and your products and more likely to spread the word about you. Now, if you do only one thing after today, I'm going to really encourage you to turn on that click segmentation tool. Get that process started for you so that you can begin sending targeted emails right away. Learn what people are interested in with your business. All right, so we're almost to the Q&A session. But I do want to mention that handout that I mentioned at the very beginning. If you're going to need help using the tools or just need a follow-up with the step-by-step information, that resource has tutorials and some guides in there that you'll find that'll walk you step by step through any of the tools that we're not able to cover in the demo here. Almost there, but if you have an account, make sure that you're logging in because you can use email marketing to get these trends implemented into your strategy today. Now, I'm going to have Rachel, for those of you who don't already have a trial or an account with Constant Contact, she's going to share a link in the questions window. So go ahead and click on that if you want to set up your trial. All right, now while everyone is typing in any final questions, I want to share some information on our next webinar. I'm pretty excited about this one. It's happening on February 28th, and this is how to use visual marketing to get attention and customers, even if you're not artistic. We have Pamela Wilson from Big Brand Systems, and she's going to be joining us next month, and she's putting together some really great content, so I'm excited that we're going to be able to share all of that with you. So I will have Rachel put that link in the questions window as well if you'd like to sign up for that. All right, so let's go ahead and get to these questions. Do you have any plans to update the segmentation options by adding and/or multiple options? For example, opened campaign 1 and/or campaign 3. So segmentation, because this is a trend, I believe we're probably going to making some improvements to what may already be there, or maybe there's going to be some new tools. I'm not sure on that, but what I would suggest that you do, let me go out to an account real quick. I'm going to suggest that you actually go into your account and leave us some feedback. So on the home tab of your account, which I'm logged in, if you go to the bottom, you'll see have feedback, but go ahead and explain the scenario that you just described to me. And that's something that our developers look at when they're developing new tools and ways to use the product. So definitely go in there and do that. All right, let's see what other questions we have. Yes, Jamie, the handout will be included in a link in the follow-up email with the recording and all of the other great information. Alexis, I see your question. Is there a point to tagging your contacts anymore, or should we solely focus on segmented lists? I'm going to suggest that you focus on segmented lists. There may be some changes coming around that, but I'm not sure. But lists are always probably the common way to go. And they're a lot easier for people to understand as well, and really easy to manage. So that's what I would suggest. All right. I don't do Facebook and have no link or page, so if I add Facebook social media link, does that still work for customers to use to send to their Facebook page? Absolutely. That does not mean that you have to use it yourself. It just means that your customers, if they have Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn, that they'll be able to share that. While we are in here, let me go ahead and just show you that here. So I'm going to go ahead and go to this build palette over here on the left. I'll click the plus button. Click in the social, and this is how you're going to just simply add it in, and then you just have to take 1 or 2 other clicks for that. You have to click in the block, click edit, and over here on the left where my mouse is right now, this is where you're going to choose the option to share on your readers' pages. You could choose just Facebook if your audience is on Facebook or Twitter. And then, of course, you can also add in LinkedIn there. If you're going to use this option, make sure you add in a text block around it. Make sure they know what this is for and basically ask them to share it with their friends and family. Most people aren't going to share it if you don't ask them to. So just make sure you're doing that. Toby asks, how do you set up the segmented emails, especially how do you set up a birthday email to go out for each person? Absolutely. So I'm going to go to the campaigns tab up here at the top left. And what I'm going to do is click create over here on the right, and you're going to go to email automation. For those of you who want to create a series, you have these 2 options. You can create a series starting based off of a trigger, such as if someone clicks in your email or opens it up or anything like that, or if they're added to a list from the click segmentation tool, or maybe they signed up with a form on your website. You can create a series of emails that way. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and go through here fairly quickly to create a birthday email, but the anniversary is pretty much the same way. Pick your template on this next page. We'll go ahead and do that. Choose that one. This is where you can come in here, make edits, add in your logo, add in your text and your details if you have an offer for them. Once you're done with the design and of course your subject line and your pre-header and all of that, click Continue. And this is where you're going to choose your scheduling. You could have it go to all contacts every year on or around their birthday, or contacts who are on a special list. So if you have maybe some VIP contacts that you want to treat differently, you could do that as well. So over here on the right, you've got your options on when to send. So it can be on their birthday. So this works the same with anniversary, but basically you'll have an anniversary date that can be filled in their profile in Constant Contact, as well as the anniversary date. So if those are filled in, that's what these birthday and anniversary emails revolve around. And then of course you've got the before the birth date. Before might be really great to use if you are providing a coupon, and depending on your business, maybe you want them to be able to plan to use their coupon on their birthday, or anything like that. And you can choose anywhere between 1 and 14 days before. Once you're ready, you're just going to click Activate. And really the most time that you're going to spend creating a birthday or anniversary email is in the design and changing up the template to really match your business and any details for it. Great question. Ken asks, what was the name of the keyword software mentioned? So that's Feedly. I'm going to go ahead and type this in so that everybody can see it. Feedly.com, and I'm going to send that to all of you, so if you just want to copy and paste it. All right, what other questions do we have? Is the social media share buttons part of Pro? No, absolutely not. They're available in any package that you have in Constant Contact. Karen asks, when curating or sharing content, what are the rules about copyright? If I want to share an article I found in the New York Times, I can copy and paste it into a document and make a link to it. Sometimes if you just paste in the link, customers won't be able to access it if they don't subscribe. So that would be a question you might want to ask the main author, because if it's a paid content or someone has to be subscribed, you might want to double check, because there is a chance you could probably get in trouble for that. I'm not sure. It probably depends on the platform or the website as well. But usually most of that free content, you can just copy and paste it in there. And then of course, don't forget to add your own perspective around it. All right, what other questions do we have? Is there a way for them to watch the videos you post on your emails? Every time we do it, it takes them to click on the video and takes them to the original page of the video. Amanda, that's actually how it's designed to work, and for the particular reasons that a lot of email programs, they don't have the ability to play the video right within the email. And some email programs will actually kind of strip out that content and cause some delivery problems, or even just kind of prevent it from being played in there. John asks a very important question here. Can a company be sending out too many emails? Absolutely. So first off, I'm going to suggest there's really no black or white line to this in terms of how many emails you want to be sending. But what I'm going to suggest is, what's the expectation you're setting your audience up with when you subscribe them, or maybe they subscribe themselves through an online sign-up form. So if you say you're sending a twice-a-month email, you definitely want to stick to that. You know, some people, or some businesses, I should say, can get away with sending about 4 emails a month. Depending on the business, we have had some like daily deal sites that do that as well. But keep in mind, the more emails you send, the more chances are they're either just going to opt out, they're just going to ignore it because they're receiving too many emails from you, or they might just mark your email as spam. And those are all things that we want to try to avoid. So play around with it also. If you are sending maybe 2 emails out right now a month, try sending out a third email and look at your reports. Do your open and your click rates go up or down, or are they affected at all? Definitely take a look at that, because it really depends on the business and the audience and the expectations that you set with them. All right, let's see what other questions we've got here. We've got a couple more minutes. So Trevor asked another great question. I'm a journalist working on developing emails to mainly English-speaking Caribbean residents here and abroad. How long should the email be? So usually we're suggesting about 20 lines of text or less, because any more than that, well, about 20 lines of text or less, that's when you're getting the most click rates based on the stats that we've seen. But also, if you're adding more, they're probably just going to stop reading beyond that. And also, if you have a call to action down below 20 lines, it might prevent them from taking that action. Got time for 1 or 2 more questions here. When I put a video in my test email, the thumbnail of the video became just a blue link. That shouldn't happen, should it? No, that definitely shouldn't, and I'm not sure what scenario might cause that. In your account, you're always going to have access to our support team. So in your account, you'll see contact us at the top right. You can chat, you can call, browse the knowledge base, community, or even tweet. Some of the people who are helping answer questions behind the scenes are the people who will help answer questions in your tweets and on Twitter and Facebook and all of that. So let's pick one more question here. Let's see. So Trish asks, I have people interested in used machinery. They will not be interested in updating their information. What can I do with only emails, some only first names? So I would go back to that click segmentation tool. That's probably one of the best ways to do it, and simply see what they are interested in. Because otherwise, if you don't think they're going to be interested, I mean, you could always ask them if you're on the phone with them, or if they come into your place of business, to see if you can get more information on them that way. But other than that, that's going to be the best. I see one more question. Can they give feedback inside the email or just a link? So it is just going to have to be a link. We don't have that ability, at least at this time. I don't know if that's something that could be possible in the future, but there's always that possibility. Go back to that have feedback option at the bottom and let our developers know what you're looking for. All right. So I know we got a lot of questions that we didn't have the chance to get to. Go back and reference that handout that has the tutorials and links to the step-by-step instructions if we didn't get your question answered. Also, we have people in our community who are going to be answering questions tomorrow, and they'll post the list on the community, the questions that were asked as well as the answers. So if we didn't get to your question, or if you want to see all of the questions, go there. That link will actually be in the follow-up email so that you can go there and do that and find out the answers to your questions. And then, of course, we've always got our support team as well. So look up that contact us information in your account. All right, I want to thank you all for joining us. Look for that follow-up email that will be sent. Most of the time it'll be within an hour, but by the end of tomorrow at the very latest. So thank you again for engaging with me and joining our webinar. And I hope you all have a really successful year with the information that you learned today.